Hi Guy, thanks for your comeback TV spoilers. The year 2026 in Genoa City doesn't open like a calm new chapter, it opens like the instant a frozen lake takes a rock to the center, and the fractures race outward in a spiderweb pattern until an entire power system starts to sink. After all of Victor's moves, after the Abbott family has tried to hold on to a fragile balance, and after every promise this town has a way of swallowing whole, one question becomes the earthquake line beneath everything: where will Michael stand when he chooses to oppose Victor with his own intelligence and hard-earned knowledge? For Victor, betrayal is never a single act. It is a charge that drags a chain of punishments behind it. And the man who once believed he could walk a tightrope between morality and loyalty is about to learn that the rope is thinner than he ever admitted. Michael has lived long enough inside the Newman orbit to understand that Victor doesn't win with money and influence alone, it wins with ruthless patience, with the ability to wait for the exact moment when an opponent collapses under the weight of their own choices. The more Michael tries to remain the composed attorney, the more he tells himself he's doing the right thing, the louder the fear becomes in the quiet moments when he's alone, the fear that Victor won't even need a direct strike, only a series of precise cuts to Michael's career, his reputation, and the relationships Michael has always believed were safe, because they were tied to the Newman name. To oppose Victor is to accept that every old guarantee can be revoked overnight, and Michael will be forced to measure something brutal. Whether continuing the plan to deceive Victor and help the Abbott family is worth losing everything he has built over a lifetime. But Genoa City never allows a decision to exist in isolation. As Michael hesitates between continuing the deception and abandoning the Abbotts to return to the right side, that hesitation itself becomes his weakness, and Victor will attack that weakness with his most terrifying weapon: doubt. Once Victor begins to doubt, every movement Michael makes is dragged under a harsh spotlight. Every meeting can be misread. Every explanation can become evidence against him. The more Michael tries to appear neutral, the more he looks like a man hiding something. And in Victor's world, anyone who hides is someone who deserves to be crushed. In 2026, Michael will feel the cost of standing against Victor, not only in legal files and corporate battles, but in the long mental exhaustion, in the feeling of being cornered with every breath, as if the entire city is waiting for him to slip. If Michael continues with the plan, he won't only face the risk of being exposed, he'll face the risk of becoming a public example. The lesson Victor uses to warn anyone else who dares to imagine living outside the Newman gravity. And if Michael retreats, abandoning the Abbotts to preserve his loyalty to Newman, he will have to live with the truth that he chose safety over justice, that he watched a power machine grind other people down and still turned away to protect himself. 2026 will make Michael pay no matter which direction he chooses. Because the deepest tragedy isn't whether he wins or loses, it's that he understands the consequences of both too well. Meanwhile, Phyllis remains the most unpredictable fuse of all, because she doesn't need Victor's level of power to cause collapse. She only needs the right timing and the right information. She steps into 2026 with an energy that is both reckless and desperate, the energy of someone who knows that if she doesn't seize an opening, she will be left behind in the bigger game. She may finally reach a deal with the Abbott family, but that deal will never be as simple as a handshake. For Phyllis, every agreement is a negotiation over her own value, and she will use guilt, anxiety, and the Abbotts' growing helplessness to raise the price. The Abbotts need Phyllis because she understands how Victor operates, how information leaks, and most importantly how a clean plan can become a disaster if it lacks someone willing to do what others refuse to do. Phyllis will be both savior and threat because once she's handed the key to join the counterattack, no one can be sure she won't unlock another door for herself at the same time. Jack will be pushed into the state he hates most, having no choice. When every defensive option is snapped in half, when the artificial intelligence program becomes the new kind of power that will determine who dominates the next era, Jack will realize that losing the AI means losing the future, and that future isn't just Abbott pride, it's survival. In that moment, Jack may be willing to do what once felt unthinkable: transfer Marchetti to Summer. This decision isn't just business strategy, it's a stab into Jack's own pride. An admission that he must sacrifice one piece of his empire to save the rest. But handing Marchetti to Summer is also like placing a sharp knife into the hands of someone standing between two families, because Summer carries the Newman name, the charisma and ambition of a new generation. and she can turn Marchetti into a bridge-year, a battlefield depending on what she wants. Jack will be forced to face the reality that he is gambling on a deal that could save him, or split the Abbotts from within. Because any concession to Newman will widen cracks in family trust. That bargain will come with a ruthless condition in exchange. Phyllis must help Jack steal the AI program back. And this is where 2026 becomes the most dangerous. Because a plan to steal AI is never only about taking back what was taken. It is a war of information, manipulation, and erased moral boundaries. Phyllis, with her sharp survival instincts, will see a chance to prove her worth, to stand at the center of a major victory and to demand the respect she believes she's owed. But she also understands that if the plan fails, she will be the first one sacrificed, the first one blamed, the first one pushed out of every circle of power. So Phyllis will play like Phyllis, bolder than necessary, riskier than safe, and always with an escape route hidden in her pocket. She will make the Abbotts feel grateful and afraid at the same time, because they will sense that Phyllis doesn't truly belong to them, she belongs to her own ambition. And Victor, once he realizes the Abbotts are reshaping the board, won't respond with anger alone. He will respond with punishment designed to make his opponents doubt themselves. Villains always fall in ways they never predict, not through a single direct blow, but through a chain of small mistakes someone led them into making. In 2026, those mistakes can be born from arrogance, from trusting the wrong person, from betting at the wrong moment. Michael may believe for one heartbeat that he is smarter than Victor, only to discover Victor has seen every step coming. Phyllis may believe she controls every exit, only to learn one door was locked from the start. Jack may believe transferring Marchetti is a calculated sacrifice, only to realize he has just handed Summer something that can redirect the entire war. And Summer, standing between Abbott and Newman, may face her most brutal emotional shock, realizing she wasn't merely given an opportunity. She was turned into a golden chess piece and wrong move away from becoming a traitor in both worlds. So 2026 doesn't promise only romantic shocks, it promises a year of reckless behavior that borders on self-destructs. One impulsive decision can collapse trust. One beneficial deal can become a trap. One AI theft operation may not stop at taking back technology, but dragon sins that can't be washed away, forcing people to live with the worst versions of themselves. As the villains who once seemed untouchable begin to crack, Genoa City will witness the kind of collapse that isn't loud but is merciless. The collapse of reputations, careers, and the comforting illusion that you can win while keeping your hands clean. And just when everyone believes one side has regained control, another twist will hit because the most dangerous force in this war isn't Victor or the Abbotts. It's the truth about who is truly holding the AI key and who has quietly planted a final clause that will corner Michael into the most painful choice of all: save the Abbotts or save himself. Betray Victor or betray his own conscience. If the AI theft succeeds, who will walk away with the prize and who will be offered up as the sacrifice? If Marchetti ends up in Summer's hands, will she become a bridge for peace or a fuse for division? And if Victor discovers Michael has gone too far, will the consequences stop at Michael's career or will they reach the one thing Michael cannot survive losing? Genoa City enters the phase people like to call the calm after the storm. But that's only what you say when you don't understand the city's real rule. The storm never ends, it only changes direction and chooses new victims. After everything Matt has done, after the disappearances, the string pulling in Los Angeles, the staged scenes meant to convince everyone that someone else was in control, Matt is finally being pushed toward the one border every manipulator fears most: the point where tricks can't hide traces anymore, where crimes stop being rumors and become files, evidence, and consequences that cannot be reversed. The question now isn't whether Matt will be punished, but how much damage he will cause first, and which ending arrives before the other, prison or death. For a man like Matt, a downfall is never clean. He refuses to end the story the way anyone else writes it. And that refusal makes the final stretch more dangerous than ever. Because Matt won't simply run, will drag others with him, retaliate, destroy what he cannot possess, and turn the chase into a psychological war that leaves all of Genoa City gasping for air. Matt's crimes are not just personal mistakes. They are a chain reaction that has landed on multiple families, and when that chain begins to snap, it will whip back at him with double force. And in the middle of that fallout, Nick and Sharon are standing exactly where they always seem to stand when this town erupts. Inside the wreckage, trying to keep each other from being pulled under. Matt leaving does not mean peace. It only creates a new kind of emptiness, an emptiness filled with unanswered questions, missing puzzle pieces, and the uneasy sense that anything could return at any moment. Nick knows better than anyone that men like Matt always leave behind a delayed explosion. A piece of information, a threatened witness. A planted last move designed to keep destroying people from far away. Sharon knows it too. But what wears her down isn't only the fear of Matt, it's the fear of what comes next for her and Nick. When the immediate danger steps back, they lose the excuse to avoid the most important question of all: where do they go from here? Together, Nick and Sharon have lived through too many loops, closed, then distant, healed, then broken, until both of them are afraid to admit something out loud. Sometimes what keeps them circling back isn't love alone, but the habit of surviving storms beside the one person who understands them. And when Matt is no longer the catalyst, Nick and Sharon are forced to face an old fracture head-on. Nick wants clarity, a plan, a decision. Sharon is terrified that clarity means placing everything on the table, and then losing it all the moment fate twists again. So the question of whether they can finally agree on a future isn't romantic anymore, it's survival. If they cannot align, they will split again at the exact moment they need each other most. And Genoa City always knows how to punish weakness. But the consequences of Matt don't stop with Nick and Sharon. They spread straight to Noah, who is carrying the kind of certainty only people who love with desperation can carry. The certainty that Sienna is the exception, that what he feels is real, that the chaos around Matt is only an outside shadow and can't reach what Noah is trying to build. Noah believes he loves Sienna, and that certainty is precisely what makes the fall ahead so brutal. Because Genoa City never forgives anyone who dares to believe too much. As the trouble connected to Matt is dragged into the light, links between people, the truths that were hidden, the motives that get exposed, Noah won't just lose faith in Sienna. He will lose faith in his own judgment. Being deceived in love isn't a normal wound. It makes you doubt your memories. Doubt the moments you once believed were beautiful. Noah will ask himself whether he truly loved Sienna, or whether he loved the version of her he invented to save himself from loneliness. And as their relationship begins to crack, it won't crack gently, it will shatter into sharp pieces. Because every argument, every avoided glance will carry Matt's shadow like a curse. From there, Genoa City opens the door to an unexpected pivot for no kind of pivot the town loves. Because it is both romantic and cruel, Noah may return to Audra. Audra is the ex. But in this moment she also becomes the place Noah runs to when everything with Sienna collapses. What makes that turn feel logical isn't only their history, it's the timing. Audra may need help because her past with Holden is at risk of unraveling. In Genoa City, the past never dies, it only waits for the perfect moment to collect its debt. If secrets tied to Holden and Audra begin to surface, Audra could face a crisis of reputation, trust, and the fragile relationships she has been trying to protect. Noah stepping in then doesn't look like a man stealing back an old love. It looks like someone who understands what it feels like to be swallowed by the past. That shared understanding could pull them closer, not because they forget what went wrong before, but because they are both standing on similar rubble. And that is exactly what makes it dangerous, because empathy can turn into dependence. Noah reaches for Audra to patch the pain Sienna left behind. Audra clings to Noah to survive the storm Holden is bringing. A relationship built on the need to rescue each other always carries the scent of tragedy. And Genoa City will not miss the chance to test it. Meanwhile, Matt is moving closer to an ending that many viewers will welcome in it because everyone enjoys punishment, but because this story has pushed too many people to the edge. And justice has started to feel like a luxury everyone is starving to see. If Matt goes to prison, it becomes a symbolic ending, the manipulator locked in a place where he can no longer control anyone, where psychological games are replaced by cold rules. But if Matt dies, it becomes a classic soap opera explosion, a blood-red period that makes people exhale and shiver at the same time. Because death in Genoa City never truly ends anything, it always leaves behind secrets, witnesses, or one more twist. Either way, the question remains, what will Matt destroy before he is finally stopped? He could release one last piece of evidence to drag Noah down with him. He could set a trap that makes Nick and Sharon think they escaped, only to pull them back in. He could leave behind a truth that forces the entire city to look hard at who helped him, who looked away, who was bought, who was compromised. And as Matt's ending is welcomed by so many, Genoa City will fall into its familiar law again: a villain goes down. But the vacuum of power and the truth he leaves behind triggers a new wave of chaos. Nick and Sharon may believe they finally have a chance to build a future, but that future will be tested the moment they begin to say out loud the things they fear most. Noah may believe returning to Audra is an escape, but is it love or only survival instinct searching for shelter? And Sienna's woman caught at the center of the storm, what will she have left? When everything connected to Matt is exposed, when Noah's trust begins to fracture, and when the final truth arrives in a way no one can control. If Matt has fallen, is it truly the end or only the opening note of a new twist? where Matt's last secret detonates at the exact moment Nick and Sharon choose to move forward. At the exact moment Noah reaches back for Audra. And at the exact moment all of Genoa City believes it is finally safe.